Hey, Money Multipliers. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Multiplier podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Kessler, and we ask ourselves, do our dollars make sense? So you have heard my family story, and if you haven't, so my father, his name is Brent Kessler. You may have seen it in the book that he wrote, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. If you haven't read that book, I give it away for free. So if you send me an email, Hannah, spelled the same ways forwards and backwards, Hannah at themoneymultiplier.com. Send me an email requesting the ebook version, and I'll send it over to you. So Dad really gets into his story in the book there, and he also gets into it in our presentation. So when we travel around and we teach on this concept, the infinite banking concept, we get into Pop's story. And so you can go check that out, the recorded version of the presentation. It's on our website, themoneymultiplier.com/presentation, and it'll take you right there. And, you know, I've seen the hardships, okay? I understand what it's like to be in that environment where your parents are bickering and arguing and having blowout fights because of the financial hardships that's happening within inside of the family, you know, and I get it, living that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle and just feeling like you're in this financial hamster wheel and there's no way out of it. I get it. I've saw that firsthand. And so myself, I'm blessed enough to say that, hey, you know, me, I am really second generation to this concept because it was Pops first who came in, started teaching the family about it. And then now it's to me, my brothers and other family members, you know, we're also practicing this concept as well. So I really want to walk through how to get out of that financial hamster wheel that we're finding ourselves in. Now, if you haven't seen my other episode as well, I'll also give you another resource before we get into it. I made a video a few weeks back. I think it's titled, "What Would I Do If I Made $50,000 a Year?" So I would go check that one out after this. But we got to understand, one man's debt is another man's cash flow. And so we have just been on this reciprocating side of us always giving that cash flow to others, the bank or government, because we are in debt to those people. And again, I also have an episode about this. All debt is not bad debt, but we got to turn that debt into cash flow for us. So we're going to talk about that in today's episode. So you can stay up to date with me over on my personal channel. If you just type my first and last name, Hannah Kessler, Kessler with one S, you can go find my personal channel over there, and I kind of get a little bit into my personal life and what's going on. So anyways, thanks for joining me. Let's get into the episode now. So this is my story. So first, you know, I had some debt. I had close to, it's actually a little over $123,000 of outstanding debt. You know, I had my van, I had my house, I put a big chunk of a down payment on the house. You know, I had my credit cards, I had some loans that I had to pay back to Dad. And so all of these debts added up to a little over $123,000. So what I first have to understand is because banking is a process. It's not a product. You hear me say that all the time. And so what I had to understand first is how much of this interest am I paying on this debt? Because, right, when you borrow money from somebody, they're going to charge you an interest to use that money. So I had to first understand where my payment was going and how much was really going to principal and how much was going to the interest. So what I did first is I added up all the debts and it came over to a smudge over $123,000. Then I went in to find my monthly payments. And my monthly payments, they came out to $1,542.75 a month. So that is what my monthly payment was that I was sending out to those people. I then took that monthly payment and I multiplied it by my longest debt that I have outstanding. And that longest debt was 134 months. That's what I would have to pay that money for that long span of that time. So I took the $1,542.75. I took that and I multiplied it by 134 months. So this came out to be $206,728.50. All right, that's the exact number. Let's just call it 206,000 for simple, easy numbers here. So I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, my debt is actually 123, but over this course of this time frame of 134 months, I'm actually paying $206,000. So you see, the bankers and these people that we have loans outstanding from, they really don't want us to pay back these loans, right? Because they're making money off of that interest, that compounding interest that they're charging us. Here, let me do the math real quick. What is 206 minus 123? Some of y'all are going to laugh at me, but hold on. I'm a terrible I almost said multitasker. I am a terrible multitasker as well. And I think multitasking is not the greatest because you got to use different parts of your brain as you're thinking about different things. But anyways, no, mental math though. Mental math is not my strong suit. If you meet my father though, he's like this with mental math. But anyways, that difference of the 123 to the 206, that is $83,000 that I am sending to the debt people. Just in interest alone. So this is what Nelson talks about. Hey, it's not the rate of the interest that's killing us, because we could have some cheap rates out there. It's the volume. It's that volume of interest that you're sending out the door to other people. Hey, money multipliers, pardon the interruption. If it's been a while or if you've never seen my presentation on the money multiplier method, what we also call the infinite banking concept, click this link right here, themoneymultiplier.com/presentation. It will take you to my 90-minute presentation on this powerful information that can drastically change your financial future. All right, let's get back to the episode. And here's what compounding interest in. Just to go back to last week's episode, what the bankers are doing is they're charging us. We have that principal balance, but then we're charged the interest. And so each year after year, that compounding interest is charged on the principal plus that interest from the previous year or the previous month or the previous day, depending on how that compounding is operating within that contract between you and that person. So, right? So I'm not saying that banks are bad. I love the principle of how bankers are making their money. And you can't hate the player. You just got to join them in the game that's going on here in America. So if I can do this and I could be making that $83,000 on myself instead of sending it to the bankers, I'm going to do that because I'm going to go in and I'm going to buy these things in my life anyways. So I think it's a better idea that I should go and finance these transactions myself instead of relying on the bankers where they're the ones making the profits off of myself. And if you've ever seen me teach this live, this concept, and you've seen our presentation, I kind of make the joke, when you go into a main intersection in town, right? The main intersection, there's 4 quarters on that main intersection in town. Doesn't matter where you're at. Pick Daytona Beach, pick New York City, pick Austin, Texas. I don't care where you're at. There are four corners on that main intersection in town. And what is one of those buildings? No, it's not Starbucks, everybody. It's a bank, right? Banks are on one of those corners. And are banks on the bad landscaping, bad architecture, rundown property? No, they're normally the nicest buildings in town. And sometimes if you even walk into those banks, they'll actually give you stuff. Don't they give you free stuff? They'll give you coffee. They'll give you those dum-dum suckers. Ooh, that's a little ironic, right? They give you those dum-dum suckers, right? They're calling you a little dum-dum. But even on some days, all right, here's the joke I like to make. On some days, you can walk into a bank down here in Daytona Beach, and if you go in there on that certain day, they'll actually give you wine. All right, they'll give you wine if you go in there on that certain day of the week. So you know, Pops, what day Pops likes to go to the bank is on that day, and he goes about 6 times a day, right? So it's just funny that we are so programmed to be consumers of the banks. The banks want our business, right? That's what we've been taught is when we go out, we make our money, we go and place it down at the local bank just because that's where they keep the money, right? Then from that checking account, you make checks back to yourself or to other people to do your banking business with. All I'm saying with this concept is if you just implement this one additional step into your life, you are now taking back that control and you're the one who's going to make those profits, the interest, the dividends on that money instead of the bankers who's making it on you. And interest is nothing more than a byproduct of the money in motion. Okay, if you've been hanging around us for some time, you know that money is made in the motion of it. Money doesn't just magically make itself work and operate by sitting somewhere, rotting and compounding, okay? So we gotta put this money into motion. So Hannah, you're talking to me and you're saying, okay, I'm understanding how bankers are operating and I understand how they're making the interest off of me and my money. So what should I do? What is the vehicle that I should be using then? What do you suggest, Hannah? Okay, well, welcome to the show, right? This is where I get into the power of using a specifically engineered whole life insurance policy. Not just the regular traditional whole life that you can buy from your brother-in-law that sells life insurance, because we all got a brother-in-law that sells life insurance. So no, these policies, a whole life policy is the specific vehicle, but it's got to be designed properly for high cash value banking. Because then if it is, then you can leverage that cash that's inside of that policy immediately. And my definition of immediately is within 30 days. So you can leverage that cash from that policy, and then we continue on to go pay the debt people. And I'm just talking about debt for today's episodes, but there's a lot of other things. Honestly, I should say anything. You can use your whole life policy cash value to go buy a pack of chewing gum down at the convenience store if you really wanted to. But for today's episode, we're really going to hone in on debt payoff for right now. So what I'm saying is that when we got to put that money into the policy, we want to leverage our deposits from that policy. And how we're going to leverage them is by taking out a loan from that insurance policy. So, hey, let's talk about this real quick before we really get into the weeds. Y'all, I said it before, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just going to mimic and imitate what the elite and the wealthy are doing. The number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world are conventional banks. Go look up BOLI. It stands for bank owned life insurance. And so conventional banks, if you look at their asset pages, right there underneath their tier 1 capital, it says life insurance. Whole life insurance is what banks are buying because they're doing this. They understand the power of leveraging a whole life policy and always earning this uninterrupted compounding interest. So just a resource for my folks. So these premiums, right? So let's take it back. What we got to do is inside of the policy, we make these premiums inside of there. And I know traditionally when we think of premiums, we think of them as payments. I am paying for this life insurance death benefit so that then at the time of my passing, my family or beneficiaries, they are going to receive this X amount of money of life insurance death benefit. Okay, so that's traditionally what we're taught about life insurance as a whole. How I want you to start viewing the policy premiums is that they are deposits. They are deposits that I'm putting in to my privatized bank. Here's where the mindset shift starts to happen because this stuff isn't hard. It's just a mindset shift. So when those premiums, I think of them as deposits. It is a deposit into my policy because as soon as I make that premium deposit, I have a cash value bucket in there that I could take out and start using immediately. What is my definition of immediately? Within 30 days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that premium deposit into the policy. Then I immediately have this cash value. I'm going to take a loan from that policy and I'm going to go take this cash value and I'm going to go start to pay off some debts. Now, Hannah, you said the word loan. I'm taking a loan from that policy. That means I have to pay back that policy loan. The answer is no, you don't have to pay it back, but I'll get more into the specifics here in a second. So what's happening is when I call the insurance company and I request a policy loan, what I'm doing is I'm putting my policy, that death benefit, up for collateral. And I'm taking a loan from the general funds of the insurance company. So I'm using their money out here in the real world, which allows my cash value to sit in the policy to grow and compound uninterrupted compounding interest. So if you go to our presentation, this is where I get into the calculator presentation and I say, hey, can we make money earning 4 at the same time we're paying 6? High level, the answer is yes. So go to the presentation and walk through that as I take you through the math there. But when I take out these policy loans in real life right now at this recording in the fall time of 2023, the insurance company charges me a 5% simple annual interest to use that money. So I'm paying them 5% to use their money. I would rather pay 5% back to a mutually owned insurance company where I share in the profits and the dividends of that company rather than to my 15% credit cards over there. Okay, this is what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'll take out that policy loan. And then now I'm going to go give it to my first debt. And how I line up the debts is I take it from the lowest balances to the highest balances. Not highest interest rates, nothing like that. I'm taking it from the lowest balances to the highest. The reason why is because if I can go and pay off a debt, I want to go and pay off that lowest balance debt as quickly as I can because now it's starting to shift the control back to myself. I have the ownership and the control now. So what I'll do is I'll take the policy money, go give it to the first credit card. Let's say it's American Express. I was sending American Express let's say it's $200 each and every month. And my balance that I had outstanding with them, let's say that it was $8,000. So what I do is I take the policy cash to go and pay off American Express. So now they're happy with me, they're done, and now I just freed up an additional $200 a month that I can now keep within inside of myself and my family. Now what I'm going to do, if I have no other debts in line, what I would do is I would take that $200 that I just freed up and I would pay it back to my policy because I'm not working any harder by doing this. I'm just redirecting the cash flow from the American Express people now to the policy. And I'm sending them that $200 each and every month that I would have been sending to American Express. But Hannah, I got more debts. I don't just have that one $8,000 credit card. I got over $120,000 of debt right here. So, okay, instead of paying back our policy loan, what I will do is I'll take that $200 a month that I just freed up and I'm going to add it to my next debt in line. Let's say I'm paying Dad. I was paying Dad $800 each and every month to pay him off. So now I'm paying Dad the $800 plus the $200 for a total of $1,000 each and every month that's going to Dad to pay him off for the loan that I've taken out from him. So what I do now is I rinse and repeat this cycle. I keep paying Dad my $1,000 a month. Let's say now that year 2, my premium comes due, because remember, this is our premium deposit. We are so gung-ho to go capitalize the banks. I almost said the central banks, but you get what I mean. The banks, the conventional banks, we're so gung-ho to go capitalize them. You start redirecting that cash flow. Stop leaving it down at the local bank. Start by putting those deposits into your bank and you capitalizing over there. One of Nelson Nash's rules that he teaches us is capitalize, 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 and do not be afraid to capitalize. I really want y'all to take that with you. I believe that's rule number 1. So what happens now, I'm rolling into year 2, and each day, each year gets better and better inside of this whole life policy that's designed for this infinite banking concept. So year 2, I get into it. My compounding's even greater. My borrowing power that I can take out of this policy is even greater. So year 2, I put in my premium deposit into that policy. Immediately, I have cash value in there that I can take out and start using. Rinse and repeat the cycle. I take out that cash value now, and let's say I have enough to go pay off Dad. I go and I take that money, completely pay off Dad. So now I've just freed up $1,000 each and every month. Now I'm going to take that $1,000, go and pay myself back inside of that policy, assuming I have no more debts outside of there. If I have more debts, what will I do? Hopefully you folks are catching on because this stuff's really not that complicated. What I'll do is I'll take that $1,000 that I just freed up and I will now add it to the next debt in line, what we love to call the snowball method, right? So all I'm doing is I'm snowballing that cash flow down till all of those debts are paid off. And then I redirect that and now I'm playing it back into the policy. I said playing it, I meant to say placing it. Placing it back inside of that policy. So now I'm paying myself back that monthly payment plus the interest that the other third-party debtors were charging me. And so now that's going back inside of my policy. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned on the forefront, do the policy loans, are they required to get paid back? No, let alone do I have to pay it back with interest? Not at all. But you should. You should be an honest banker in your life, because all you're doing, if you don't pay yourself back with interest, you're just gypping yourself, you're gypping your family, your children, and future generations to come, because you're stealing the peas. You're stealing the peas from your policy and from your banking system. Go read Nelson Nash's book, and that metaphor will make sense to you. So you should be paying yourself back those payments that you were sending to the third-party debt people, but now you're just paying yourself back into the policy. Money's coming back to you. All right, Hannah, well, what if I don't pay myself back? What if I have a tough month? I get into a car accident, or comes a hurricane comes through Florida and it rips off my roof, and now I got a big gaping hole in the top of my ceiling here. What if it's just not feasible for me to pay myself back? I get it. Life happens. And this is where the ownership and the control come into play, because I am in debt to myself. I am not going to call myself up over the phone saying, Hannah, you didn't send me that monthly payment, so I'm going to come and repo or take away whatever collateral that you put up there just to borrow the money from me. It's not going to happen, because I'm in debt to myself. It's all about the control of the transaction. So if it does come to a time that I pay back none of these policy loans, I steal my peas and I just keep taking from the policy, and I put no policy loan money back, what happens then? Well, at the time of our passing, that death benefit that we're collateralizing, that death benefit will come in. It will be subtracted by any outstanding loans that we have out there. Then whatever remaining portion now will get paid out to your beneficiaries. So the insurance company can never lose, right? They are always promising you this death benefit, and death benefit is going to be higher than the cash available inside of that policy. And a matter of fact, it will actually equal. When you reach age 121, that cash value will equal the death benefit. The insurance company will pay you out whatever death benefit that's remaining, and they say, see you later, we're done with you, we're done playing in the sandbox with you, right? All right, but we'll talk about that once we get to that age of 121, okay? So just by filtering the cash value through the policy first, I'm giving that dollar the extra duty and kind of pushing it to give it an extra job to work even harder for me, so that now I can make 2, 3, 4 times that amount on that $1 just by moving it, just by changing the control of the transaction, and just by pushing that back to myself and back into the policy. So this is why another resource that we go through inside of the presentation is how banks work. And all we're doing is we're just getting into that mindset of thinking like a banker. We are now taking back the ownership and the control of the banking function in our life, and we are now just simply acting in the manner of a banker. That's all it is. So go out there, go explore some of my other resources where I do post up spreadsheets. I just didn't want to do spreadsheets in today's episode because I know that is not the best way of how everybody learns, and I'm trying to hit it at all of the different angles. But I do have past episodes where I go through debt payoff, the lifespan of a policy, IBC journey from beginning to end, using the policy to purchase a boat versus paying cash. All right, go back and watch some of those episodes because I do post spreadsheets up here on the screen. But I know it's not the best of how everybody learns. Because if you try to ask my father to get in, try to do some spreadsheet stuff, he'll tell you, that ain't me, go home. So now, here's something that's really cool, all right? If this is something that you just want to talk about, your situation of where you're at, because we're no different, okay? We were right there. My family, dad was in almost $1 million of debt. If you want to know how he went and paid all of that off, I got the resources. But if you just want to connect one-on-one with your questions that you have walking through your specific scenario, we can hop on a phone call. So you can reach out to me, go to go to the website. You can call me, text me on my personal cell, 913-908-3511. That's my personal cell phone number. You can send me an email, hannah@themoneymultiplier.com. But this is really what we do day in and day out. Is I'm just telling y'all what I've done in my own personal life and what my family has accomplished. And that's just what's so fun about what I do, is I just explain to you what I have done with this concept in the system. So our mapping team, all right, if you're new to us and you don't know too much about us, you can go to our website and you can look up our team. But what I just walked through is something that we create for you called the Money Multiplier Map. All right. And this map that we create for our folks who are in debt, it shows you visually how we're using this policy to go and pay off your debts. So like if you go back into the presentation and you'll see Dr. Gunny's example. So because that's a real life example. It's one of Dad's chiropractic colleagues. And there's no difference with how you are implementing this versus others out there. The only difference between you and Doc is you just got different debts, you got different expenses, and the premium that you decide to put into your policy may be different. But how you're utilizing the system to go and pay off the debt, pay the expenses, buy your investments, it operates the same exact way. So don't overcomplicate this stuff, y'all. You know, the policy is nothing more than just that warehouse of the wealth, what I sometimes call the glorified savings account. That's just what it keeps it simple in my mind and kind of make that cognitive correlation there. But my team will create you that money multiplier map, and we're updating these maps 2 to 3 times a year. We're going to sit down and have those in-depth conversations because our financial life is never stagnant. We go through the windfalls, we go through the downfalls, and I'm going to be here to help you do that. So call us up. We can walk through some of those things, but the mapping team, I think it's pretty cool of what they do over there, because really, in all honesty, they're just coaching you on how to fish, right? What does Nelson Nash always say? And I've repeated myself over and over again in today's episode, but it's all about the control. And so you need to understand and start taking back the control of what's happening in your financial life. And I get it. Some of y'all are scared. You've been letting it go on and on and on, time after time, just sending $150 here, $200 a month here. Hannah, it doesn't seem like a lot because I'm just sending them those small monetary amounts each and every month. But it adds up, y'all. Okay, so some resources that I use, okay, I have my app called Rocket Money. And Rocket Money, if you're listening to this, please holler at me, sponsor me. I love your guys' stuff. But I use Rocket Money to track my monthly income, my monthly expenses, where I'm spending the money at, so that I know and I'm understanding where this dollars are going. So everything is in motion here in your financial life. It's never stagnant and you got to stay on top of it. But again, you know, it's just one of the circles of your whole entire financial picture that you should be working on. And that's kind of why I'm excited actually for next week's episode. Come join me. I got Kelly Cardenas coming on. He is an amazing human being, very successful. He was actually at the top of Paul Mitchell there for a long, long time, but he's got such amazing insight, just such an amazing personality and view on the world. And so I kind of wanted to bring him in just to talk a little bit about mindset, because like I said, our financial life is just one circle of our entire life here on this planet, right? You got your personal life, your professional life, your other relationships, our fitness life, right? Our health is our wealth and things like that. So Thank you for tuning in. I'm here to help and serve you. So let me know if there are other topics you want to get me into. Every week, I'm here talking about something new, something different, and really getting into the weeds and breaking these things down for you just so you can understand it. If you can't go home and leave this episode and explain and cannot explain it to a fifth grader, I didn't do my job properly. Okay. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for sharing the love. If you need me, you know where to find me. And until next time, I'm going to ask you, do your dollars make sense? Get into the weeds, y'all, and see what's going on. I'll catch you next time. Thank you, Money Multipliers, for tuning in to another episode. If you enjoyed this and you want to learn more about the infinite banking concept, click right here. This takes you to my powerful 90-minute presentation explaining in depth how, why, what is the infinite banking concept. I will see you next Tuesday. Catch all you Money Multipliers then.